In 1991, the Soviet Union experienced the shock of a second wave of miners' strikes. The first was in 1989. During a rally, one of the strikers called for the eradication of historical injustices, demanding to give workers back their plants, factories, mines, and land. This never happened. Instead, the Soviet Union collapsed in December of the same year, leaving many former Soviet citizens puzzled by a question. How did we end up with capitalism and socio-economic inequality when what we wanted was freedom and democracy? To answer this question, I consider the broader framework of social change and democratic participation in a series of case studies. In my analysis, I assume that development is not a movement without choice, but rather a chain of bifurcations. This understanding emphasizes the importance of participation in decision-making. The miners' strikes in the Soviet Union present a case in point. It's widely believed that the strikes of 1991 contributed to the Soviet Union collapse. However, some years later, many of those involved ardently denied that that had been their goal. You may wonder what happened. The strikers did indeed demand a multi-party democratic political system. But simultaneously, they insisted on widening the spectrum of social benefits, including a paid 3-year maternity leave for women. In other words, the democracy they envisioned as an alternative to the one-party rule wasn't liberal democracy on the Western model, it was rather socialist democracy with its stress on economic redistribution and a broader social safety net. That such reinterpretation of the idea of democracy is not unique to former Soviet citizens is demonstrated by recent research conducted in 4 countries: Kenya, Serbia, Egypt, and South Africa, under the leadership of political communication and democracy scholar Catherine Woltmer from the University of Leeds. Interviews with political activists and journalists in South Africa, for example, highlight local people's efforts to reinterpret the idea of democracy to emphasize the need for more egalitarian relationships among individuals. Assigning different meanings to the concept of democracy can be a powerful tool that prevents some views from being incorporated into developmental policies, as the case of Soviet miners illustrates. Ultimately, I argue that people's contribution of their views and ideas to decisions regarding social and economic development in their countries is what democratization and development should be about.